Hello and welcome, Ron's vlog, the place to be on the internet. Talking today about the universe, its basis, its center, its foundation, and how our view, our understanding of it has evolved, and that you better keep up if you want to stay current with an understanding of who we are and where we are. Centuries ago, many peoples believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, and we drew models of it and tried to understand our examination of the stars and the moon and the sun and all the planets we could see from a viewpoint that we were the center of the universe. And as time went along, several times different cultures actually came upon a correct model where the sun was the center of the solar system, and even that the sun itself was revolving around the center of the galaxy with all the other stars, was discovered independently or conjointly among many cultures throughout history. For a very long time, it was considered that everything had a spiritual basis or background. Rocks, trees, plants, everything was attributed as spirit. Now, the attribute of the spiritual universe that throws us off is that personalities, human attributes, names, storylines were attributed to these spiritual aspects of everything around us. And actually, that's not a bad way to understand things in a non-linear format, but out of context, those stories look a lot like fairy tales to us. So enter science, the Renaissance, separation of church and knowledge as being one and the same thing. Science started studying matter. The solid stuff, the things we interact with, that we run into, that we see with our eyes and perceive with our ears. We put matter at the center of the universe and have built up a scientific model, understanding, viewpoint of the universe that places the solid material stuff at its very center. That's understandable. And it's not a bad place to start, at the very least. Journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. However, you don't want to stop on your doorstep. And many of us have. We kind of got off the ship of science, and it's been sailing on without us. So let's take a look at where science has gone, just in case we've missed it and been stuck in the old paradigm. How many states of matter are there? This is a good illustration of where science has gone that most people haven't heard about. There were always 3 states of matter when I was in school: solid, liquid, and gas. Well, they have decided there is a 4th state of matter called plasma. And they've also discovered that not a little bit of the universe is made of this state of matter that previously we never recognized. In fact, to the tune of 95% of the universe is plasma. And what plasma is a very highly ionized, that is a very highly energized state of matter. And as they're looking at the universe and realizing that 95% of it is plasma, even with that included, there's the problem that by our models and mathematics and analysis, 98% of the universe is still missing, unaccounted for. To make the calculations work, to hold the planets and galaxies in orbit, we need 98% more matter than we have. We also calculated in our matter-centric universe, that entropy would rule. That is, energy slowly dissipates, things cool off, and stuff grinds to a halt. And yet, when we measure the movement of galaxies, stars, systems in the universe, we find that everything is still accelerating. So not only are we missing 98% of the matter, there is an energy source continuing to accelerate the universe in every direction that we can't detect. If that's kind of troubling on the macroscopic front, things aren't any better, maybe worse, on the microscopic front. That is, as we've become able to examine things smaller and smaller and smaller and measure tinier amounts, we get down to the infinitesimal elementary particles that make up this matter. It's not there. At its very base, we find energy. Even the things we can detect and measure don't act like they're supposed to. It's long been known that light, photons, act like both a particle or just a wave form of energy. And it's been now found that electrons can act like a particle or a waveform. And even atoms in the infamous dual slot experiment act like waveforms sometimes, which is very troubling because atoms are the basis of matter and were always considered to be matter. And as though that weren't enough, it turns out that the observer affects the experiment. That is, that even an atom will act like a wave or a particle depending upon whether or not someone is observing it, trying to measure it. Just that subtle interaction of trying to count it causes it to collapse into a particle form. And when we take this new quantum physics science back out into space, we find that even in the vacuum, in the void that we thought was empty, it turns out particles of matter spontaneously appear and disappear all the time. All fingers point to a conclusion that underneath everything is energy. I would say nothing but energy, but even that takes us back to our old way of thinking. Our old way of thinking that the universe was made of matter and solid stuff and particles, and that there were energetic reactions between pieces of matter, that energy fields were created by matter, that iron produced a magnetic field, for example, or that responded at least to a magnetic field, that magnets produced a magnetic field or an electrical effect. In fact, it might be the other way around, that the universe is 98-point-something% energy, fields, interactions of vibrations at different levels, and that matter is actually a very unique, very precise, and a very minuscule portion of that whole energetic spectrum, and that ourselves and the reality that we see, perceive, and interact with is an isolated incident, a very unique set of circumstances that, rather than the norm and the basis and the fundamental building blocks of reality, are one of the most exotic environments in the universe. And perhaps everything on this planet is the most remarkable form of xenophobe you could ever hope to encounter. This should hardly be surprising. I mean, spiritual aspect aside, even fundamentalists have always believed that God and the Word, Logos, created heaven and earth, which puts the spiritual realm or the energy realm at the foundation level as the basis for the physical realm. And science is edging ever closer to this realization, although the basic viewpoint of the universe has yet to switch in the populace. So here's your chance to be cutting edge and get out there ahead of the general population and realize that energy is the foundation of your world, that to a very large degree it is the moving factor, the cause and the effect that we measure, that we see played out in the material world around us. And that our connection, our tie, our perception of this energy realm is most closely linked through our thoughts and our emotions. Not to say that our bodies, our physicality, and these other objects that we make out to be our world are not energetic, and that just simply pushing them around, lifting them, heating them, shocking them, doing whatever we do with them is not an energy reaction, because, as I've just pointed out, they actually are energy, and all those ways of interacting and dealing with energy certainly are valid. The point is to stop making such a distinction between energy that we cannot put our hand through, energy that bounces light back to our eyes, that we can perceive in that narrow spectrum that we can actually see in, and realize that this is just a very specific condition of a huge, vast field of energy we can hardly detect. Much of it that we can't detect, that we can only surmise about. And not get caught up too much in the mathematical wizardry that science uses to justify and prove everything. Someone once said that, I'm paraphrasing, the world as we know it can be described by mathematics, but mathematics cannot describe the world as we know it. So sift that through your neurons for a while, and we'll talk to you next time.